Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero. We are operating from Studio Galaxy 473 in Confero, and we are the Galaxy Equalizers. And our program today in two parts. One is basically on agriculture. But the question we ask today, how do we wake up St. Andrews? St. Andrews is said to be big parish. It is connected to all the other parishes in Grenada. A lot has come from St. Andrews. The parish has 4 constituencies, 4 parliamentarians, like St. George's. But however, that parish has not been operating at its maximum. Michael Battis would say it's far from its maximum. I know that is one of his pet subject matter, the rural economy. We like to beat with chest and say big parish. How do we wake up St. Andrews? Because we firmly believe if Grenada are to take the position that it ought to take, then St. Andrews must wake up. We have had a long history. Mm-hmm. We have had Eric Gary. We have had Morris Bishop.
Yep.
A very impactful leader, particularly in the international community and on the world stage. Then we have had Kit Mitchell. Yep. Morris Bishop started all his issues in St. Andrews. Then we had Michael Battis. Sometimes we say in the rum shop, the only 2 politicians that had a serious impact on St. Andrews is Eric Gay and Michael Battis. Mm-hmm. No, the question is how we wake up St. Andrews. And today we have with us in the studio Galaxy Joshua. I like to say Joshua. You know. Joshua is supposed to be a man of God. And because we are a heavy Christian society, that name must come from the belief of his parents. Joshua, welcome to Studio Galaxy, and we are the Galaxy Equalizers. How do we wake up St. Andrews? And remember, the number to call is 410-3030, and we're going to try to take your message. We want to be as interactive as possible. We're a new kid on the block, so we're kind of rusty. But help us to share our program, tell people about it, and subscribe to it. Yes, Joshua.
Yes, good morning to you, Mr. Pierre, and the technician, everybody at home and in the diaspora. And as I think we had a guest who said worldwide, so everybody worldwide. Yes, the question you ask, it's a very important question. The program is to highlight issues, stimulate discussion, and look at solutions, not only to say, well, government is not doing that and this is not doing that. But we want to stimulate discussion and wide discussions. St. Andrews is basically what's known, what I see as the sleeping giant. In many ways, it's been left behind whilst St. George's in the south have been growing. St. George's is probably looking for more land to acquire as it grows and grows. And we've had the whole situation in St. George's with real estate and real estate prices and local people being priced out of the market because of the CBI program and the hotels and the accommodation that's been built for Airbnb. So St. George's, I mean, is growing and growing fast. Um, St. St. Andrews, since we lost bananas in terms of the trade dispute with the U.S., has been slowly going into a deeper and deeper sleep. Um, what I want to do today is to share some ideas that I believe would work in terms of waking up St. Andrews. The first idea that I have is to use St. Andrews as a guinea pig to develop or create an economic development zone whereby there are many incentives, including tax incentives. There's many incentives in terms of using low interest loans, and we reprioritize the CBI funding. The CBI funding has mainly gone into buildings and hotels in the south of St. George's. And if you look who has been influencing the CBI, you would see that it's realtors and it's lawyers and developers who's been influencing the CBI project in terms of what priorities that it should go into. Now, as a nation that has many priorities, what I'm saying is that the funding now, we need to look at using those funding to prioritize St. Andrews and the development of agriculture. That needs to be the priority of the CBI project. We have enough accommodation, high-end accommodation in St. George's. I'm not saying to stop it, but I'm saying that with the volume of money that's coming for the CBI, let's look at our food security and agriculture and prioritize it by using some of the funding from the CBI to develop agriculture. So first of all, I'm saying we want an economic development zone for St. Andrews. We want to give incentives so that entrepreneurs, businesses can start having projects in St. Andrews. One of the key projects that we need to do, and we know that already, if you talk to the people like, Peter Handel, Peter David as well, from their time in agriculture, they will tell you what's needed in terms of developing agriculture is irrigation, and not irrigation with the pumps and pumping out of the river, but drip irrigation that is cost effective and doesn't put a strain on Grenada resources. So that's one of the things that has to be paid for, the piping, the irrigation material. And we have to have bigger projects that's, that are fence. We have to have fencing for these farms. We have to have fencing for our cattle. We have to have fencing for our goats or sheep. We can't have these open land where one day we wake up and the sheep eat all the, sweet potato vines. Those days have to go. So that's one of the things. We have to have proper toilets on the farms. We have to have proper housing. All of those things cost money, but in the end, it pays. So this is one of the things. We also have to have secondary processing. Now, I see from Grenville, there's a road from Grenville by Wayne Archibald Funeral Home. They call it Griffin Lane. I believe Griffin Lane. And in the back of it, there's a garage. I forgot the guy name who have the garage. But along that stretch, there's a lot of empty land. I think there could be a partnership, a public-private partnership with the owners of those lands so that we put those land into production as This is our secondary processing area. I know we have an area in going towards the old airport already, but we've run out of land there. And the land going up to Telescope, it's big enough to have parking. It's big enough to be commercial. It's big enough to have a set of businesses at concessionary rates to stimulate, St. Andrews, create employment. I think that is one aspect that's been missing. Everybody talks about secondary processing. And the secondary processing cannot be how we've been doing it, because how we've been doing it hasn't really worked. There's a secondary processing business. I believe it's owned by the Governor General family, and that churns out a lot of nice product. But it involves a lot of money. I understand a lot of grant has gone to that business. But if we're going to do secondary processing, there has to be a commitment to fund the technical expertise that is needed so that these people with their wonderful ideas and the enthusiasm and the entrepreneurship to do something, they can have the technical skills to support them to do it wrong with uh, the Bureau of Standards and whatever else other agencies that they need, whether it's marketing agency, distribution agency, etc. It has to be designed in a way to succeed. We can't continue designing projects that will have a 70% chance of failure. That has to go out the window. So secondary processing in St. Andrews, that has to be a hub. And there are many things that can be secondary processed. I don't have to go into that. You could see like the green bananas and you think, oh, green banana. But there's so much things that can be done with green banana. The planting, don't even talk about planting. We have a demand for planting in Grenada at the moment we can't satisfy. And that is just raw planting, eating raw damn planting. It's not about secondary processing of planting. We haven't even touched that. So we want an economic zone in St. Andrews. We want St. Andrews to become an economic zone. We want it to be properly financed. We want a team, not a team of politicians, but a team that can actually do economic development and business. We want a team of about 4, because we have 4 big areas in St. Andrews. We have 4 parliamentary representatives. Now, these people have to be given a mandate, what it is that needs to be done. And they have to be answerable to that. And the payment or wages cannot just be a flat wage. It has to be 50% in terms of monthly wages, and then the rest based on incentives in terms of what they basically kind of deliver.
Joshua, just to interrupt you, like, the idea for economic development zone in St. Andrews is a nice idea. And obviously, that idea have to be given some opportunity to filter down for people to start to discuss that issue and recognize what it's all about, what could we benefit, what are the advantages and disadvantages.
Yes.
Well, I see only advantage on it, and lessons to learn. There are economic zones in other parts of the world.
Yes.
So we are not inventing the wheel.
Yep.
What we're doing is like the maple tree might grow in England, but you don't expect the maple tree to grow in England as the way it grow in Grenada.
Right.
In the same way, you don't expect a nutmeg tree in Grenada. If you plant it in the Sahara Desert, it might be a different nutmeg. Look different, but it will still grow. So we have to model these things.
Yes.
And as we provoking discussion now,
absolutely
you said financing.
Yes.
So let us look at some of the areas that we could use for financing for economic development zone. I know you list the CBI program.
Yeah, the CBI is the biggest. But before I jump into that, Mr. Pierre, with both feet, because when you have an idea in Grenada, people are likely to cut out both of your feet because we're good at that. So before I jump into that, while I still have my feet, one of the things I want to highlight is that the current system is not working. We've had a current system that we've just been pulling along for the past 50 years. It is not working.
And some might take serious issue,
Yes.
and sometimes they're right. Because if you have a system for 50 years and you tell people it's not working,
It's not working
it's
for the
not
many.
working as it could work.
Yes.
Because once you say it's not working, it's a non-starter. You touch people's toes, they vex with you, they say, welcome. So the system is not as productive as it could be.
Yes.
It is unsatisfactory.
Yeah.
We have minimal returns from it, and we could do much better.
Yeah.
We could improve the system by more than 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah. And Mr. Pierre, while you were talking, remember, I come from the St. Andrews, so do you. I come from Paraclete, and I remember as a child how Paraclete was and the buzz and everything, the expectation. I remember on our little, I think we had probably about 5 acres altogether by my grandmother. I remembered how my uncles was hustling and bustling with the trucks, bringing bananas down to the port, etc. I remember the activities.
Well,
Now it's like a ghost town, Mr.
Of course, Paraclete is one of the village we get quiet on. Paraclete was a village for the jefes. And one of the things I like about Paraclete, some of the big guns in Paraclete were very humble. No big fuss. The boucan was bigger than the house.
Yes.
They say house no making money, boucan making money.
Yes.
So they had massive boucans,
Yes.
and they don't bother much about the house.
Yeah.
We had one individual, Hoodoo Forrester.
Yes.
I remember on one occasion as a young boy having discussion with him, and he had 69 workers.
Wow.
Yeah. Then you would have Clive McIntosh with about 20-something workers. And Macrosh and the Hannibals and the Cummins and the DeGales and the Knacks and the Millets. It was some heavyweights that we had in Paraclete.
Yes, yes. Paraclete was alive.
Yeah, but
Not only was it known for the prettiest girls in Grenada,
of course,
but economically it was alive.
it was alive. And we had a number of intellectuals that was able to send their children to university. I remember one individual in Paraclete said how they could say agriculture don't making money.
Yeah.
I have 15 working vehicles in my yard and I don't own nobody.
Yeah.
I was saying to an individual the last time, a young boy told his father he's not going back to school because I think Mr. Roberts want to beat him. He say he's not going back to school. And the father asked.
Roberts was from where? Bel Air School?
Roberts was Methodist. He asked,
Methodist.
what you going to do? He said, I'm going to run taxi.
Okay.
Because while the boy was in primary school, he was driving truck.
Right.
And the father agreed with him and he bought him a brand new BMC.
Right, right.
And when his brother realized the brother had a BMC, he said, he's not going back to school. And after about a month, they say, well, the boy might get crazy. So they buy him a brand new BMC. And another cousin say, he's not going back. The father buy him a brand new BMC. In those days.
Yeah.
No.
Cash.
I just go and buy a BMC.
Okay.
I remember when even in St. John, one of the guys went to buy a bus. And he went down and asked for a bus. He dressed very shaggy with his old stained-up clothes and a piece of shoe in his foot with the toes outside. And he bought a bus and he paid for the bus cash with a bag of money.
Right.
So definitely we have moved.
Yeah.
I don't think it's up, but I don't sure it's down.
Yeah.
Because migration in this community.
Yes, it's been heavy because my people went.
Everybody go away.
Everybody went.
all the big wheels, all the heavyweight.
Yeah.
Some of them say they're posting their children away. You will not stay in Grenada here.
Yeah.
And the community, not only in Paraclete, Burge Grove,
Yeah.
Hermitage.
Yeah.
these communities.
Yeah.
So the idea of an economic zone is a fascinating
Yeah.
idea that we could discuss.
Yeah.
And funding.
Yes.
How do we fund
Yes.
an economic zone?
Yes. So remember, these days when we talk, we don't just talk about Grenadians at home. We talk about Grenadians in the diaspora as well. And we have a certain amount of Grenadians, especially in Brooklyn and Washington and Toronto and Montreal and London, Bristol, who still have a strong interest home, and they have an economic base in which they don't necessarily all want to come home, but they would contribute to a fund, an equity fund, whereby you could use that fund to bankroll certain businesses. Now, the way that money works in the wider world, it's usually through shares and equity funds. We haven't really done that, but our people in the diaspora, they have a good understanding about equity funds and shares. So this is not foreign or new to them. A lot of them probably have shares in New York or Montreal already. And they know sometimes, they get a little change back. Sometimes, things bad, they don't get anything. But they understand that funding concept. So that's one of the ways that we can fund the project.
Remember, the number to call is 410-3030.
Yeah.
And we are playing around with the idea with Jocelyn. We want to open with think tank. We want to discuss the issue.
Yes.
St. Andrews
Yeah.
as an economic zone.
Yes, and then so that's one way, the diaspora. And when you live abroad, and Mr. Pierre, I've lived abroad. I've lived in Canada, I've lived in the UK, I've lived in the US, I've lived in Ghana, I lived in several different places. And when you are away and you're living abroad, something happens to you. And what happens is you develop such an attachment and a love for the country where you were born. It's almost surreal. There's an attachment and a love by people in the diaspora, a yearning to contribute something to Grenada. I don't know where that comes from.
You never miss the water till the well run dry. It's when you go away.
Yeah.
I'm in full agreement with you.
Yeah.
When you go away, you realize how Grenada nice.
Yeah.
How that is what you have.
Yeah.
What you have is where your color and where your navel string.
Yeah. But also there's a lot of hostility in the wider world towards people of color. And one of the things I know is that when I used to come home for 4 or 5 weeks and I get off the plane, I felt a sense of belonging, of home. Nobody could tell me go back to your country. I'm in my damn country now, So there is that psychological, link that Grenadians in the diaspora want.
That we must capitalize on for developmental purpose.
But it's also healthy for them. They have a sense of guilt, a lot of them, that they have not contributed to Grenada. A lot of them are doing big professional jobs and teaching and this and that and all the rest of it. And in the quiet moments, I think they think, oh God, I was going to come back to Grenada after 5 years. It's now...
No, it's 40 years ago.
Yeah, now it's 40 years.
Can't come back.
Yeah, and the
health system do good. You were not there to help to make it better.
Yeah, but they want to contribute, and we need to give them an opportunity to contribute, to ease their conscience, to feel good about Grenada, to feel good about themselves.
People in the diaspora is an integral part of development of the country.
Yeah.
And maybe we don't have the necessary infrastructure here to really make them feel comfortable. Yeah. But maybe they could look at the Jews. How the Jews has helped Israel. How they have lobbied.
Yeah.
United States have about 6 point something million Jews.
More than in Israel then.
And Israel have 7 point something. And they lobby for Israel.
Yeah.
It's not about which party
Yeah.
is Israel.
Yes,
And
it's
we have to
Grenada.
get our Grenadians in the diaspora to understand. It's
Yeah.
not about NDC or NNP.
No, they're
It's
less.
not about Mitchell and Mitchell.
They,
It's
it,
Grenada.
yeah, they're less tribal in the diaspora. It's more about Grenada
Yeah.
there. That's my
Well, the
experience in
whole
Brooklyn.
Caribbean has been,
Yeah.
I don't know, we have not clicked, but
Yeah.
the whole Caribbean is looking to the people away
Mm-hmm.
who have done well.
Mm-hmm.
And not done well only in the financial sense, but
Mm-hmm.
also in the talents.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that is one is even
Yeah,
more
but hold
critical.
on. We had a son of a prime minister, Prophet or
Prophet,
Yeah,
his
who,
name was ringing in the engineering field.
yeah, but he has an equity fund, from what I understand, in California. That is very successful. So our people already operate in equity funds. So it's not going to be difficult for him to operate an equity fund in Grenada. Or somebody like him. I say him because he's the only name that has
Pops
been
up.
brought to
There
my
must be
attention.
others. Yeah.
But there's probably more Grenadians who are
So
involved.
we're talking about CBI program. One, we're talking about equity fund. What other areas we could use to fund
Yeah.
the economic development zone in St. Andrews?
Yeah, I think, in terms of the rural economy, we probably pay proportionally more in taxes than anybody else, because when we go and buy our goods in the shop, we pay just as much.
We pay the maximum because we are at the end
Yeah.
of the retail line.
Yeah, but what happens is that a man who's making 100,000 pays 15% VAT. A man who's making 5,000 pay 15% VAT. So proportionally, the man who's paying the 5,000, because his income is so much less than the 100,000, he's paying proportionally much more tax, because VAT is what they call a negative regressive tax. It taxes the poor more than it taxes the rich.
But it's also important to understand, as VAT goes down the line, the impact of it, the cost of it is greater.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you have less middlemen.
Yeah, yeah. And also, one of the things, I think, I don't want to divert too much, but because and go into the problem, because I want to focus on the solution and finance, as you asked me. Because one of the things people don't understand, who's making policy sometimes, is what real poverty is. You could go to St. George's, to Foodlands or Food Fair, IGA, and you see people full in their baskets, and they give their card or whatever, and they're gone. But when you're in the rural community, and you have your loads of corner shop, and you see a man going there and buying one egg, because that's what he could afford. It's a different understanding of the impact of poverty and neglect, and how we living in some of these rural economy, and it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't have to be like that. We could create a situation overnight where we could give this man 100 chickens to go and lay egg, give him the pens, and supervise him for 6 months. And that poverty, straight away we alleviated it.
Maybe one day we have to speak about poverty, because we might derail the issue.
Okay.
But John Gall tell me, one guy said to him, he can't understand how a big man could say he don't have $20. He said he don't understand how a man could say that he didn't have $20 in it.
That's another discussion. So keep me on track
Yes.
with finance.
So let us go to what other ways we could fund that. Because Joshua,
No.
we have over 58 registered vehicles in Grenada. So that means Grenadians themselves have money that they put in vehicles. And after 5 years, if you buy a vehicle for $100,000, when you drive it out of the company, perhaps $20,000 depreciation
Yes,
come
so
out.
it's 80,000.
So after 5 years, the insurance and all don't want you again.
And you can't even use it as security.
And in most instances, these vehicles are not income generating. In fact, they are guzzlers.
Yeah. I know my vehicle is income generating
Of
because
course, based upon your job,
yeah,
you must have a
because my
transport.
vehicle was down on Tuesday. The shock had come out, and I needed to get a welder to put it. And you know the amount of anxiety that I had because I have to get good.
And you have to rent vehicle to do it.
Yeah. And my landlady saying to me, "Well, you don't do no proper business because where's your plan B?" I said to her, "I cannot afford a plan B. I know what a plan B should be."
Plan B is you have to work on. So the question is, we have money in Grenada, but how do we educate? How do we culture people to redirect the spending power to income generating?
Mr. Pierre, vehicle is a necessity. It's no longer a luxury. So that is one thing psychologically.
Vehicle is a necessity.
We have to adjust
But
to.
if you have two people in a house,
Yeah.
and both of them have a car, and none of them is not generating income, and they're buying $10 gas, and they're packing up the vehicle to go to St. George's.
Mr.
This
Pierre,
vehicle is a burden and a show-off.
Mr. Pierre, that is the folly of youth. Do not deny the youth their usefulness.
No. I don't want to deny them. I'm saying, how do we educate? How do we culture people to redirect the spending power
I
to
agree.
economic generating?
Yeah, I agree.
Ventures.
And that's from the home, that's from the extended
Because
family.
we
that's
cannot
from
be saying that we don't have money to invest in projects agriculture. But you go in a home and you see two vehicles there.
Yeah. Mr. Pierre, let me tell you something about smartness and how smart we are in Grenada when it matters to us. Now, I remember, I don't know if it's the first or second term of NNP. The guy called Steele, who was a minister of health, they also have a car franchise. And I remember that how they went to meet with the Minister of Trade. And within a matter of 2 or 3 months, duties on second-hand car go up like nothing because they argued to the Minister of Trade that they can't do business because everybody buying second-hand car.
Well, nothing is wrong with that. When you have a business, you're supposed to seek your interest and lobby.
There's everything wrong with that.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So let's agree to this.
From a business point of view, you lobby.
Yeah. So
the country have a small cake, and different interest group lobby for it.
Yeah. Some interest groups are more powerful,
Of course.
and they're in government.
Why do you think we're in the position we are in?
And they're actually in government to make the rules themselves. And 100,000 plus, are outside, no connection to inside, how to influence what they want. So what happened with that? That's why I say we could change things.
Yeah, that's why how do we redirect, educate, culture people to understand?
So within 3 months, the duties on second-hand car went up to about 150, 160% in no time. The duties on cars, new cars coming into Grenada, was made was given more incentive. But there's about 7 car dealerships in Grenada. There's probably about 30 or 40,000 people wanting cars, second-hand cars. Their interest was totally negated. And you know how they used it? They said the environment.
Well, of course. Bombs are falling in Ukraine. The world is on the brink of nuclear war. And we jumping up here talking about the environment. You hear any leader in the Caribbean or Africa appealing to stop the slaughter in Israel and Palestine and Ukraine and Russia and to prevent nuclear war? They're talking about plastic.
Yeah, I think
it's lobbying.
I think when you talk like that, you're really talking to the converted, because I have the same feeling as you. Our priority is wrong, just as our.
I don't waste time with the environment, I practically support Donald Trump first position on the environment.
You know,
Wasting time.
yeah. So it's what's close to your heart, and sometimes we create a false narrative. And at the same time, as I'm tempted to talk on that, I want to stick to the finances.
How do we redirect culture? Because all people have money. Look at a used vehicle as an issue. Look at the quality of our cell phones. Little children that goes to school.
Most of the cell phone come from our diaspora.
The fact remains again, how do we redirect? Because even if our people send it away for us, why didn't you encourage your children to grow rabbit?
Our people,
because rabbit have a high source of protein. You use vine and other ways.
So that's what we're trying to
How do we do that?
You know, I think there are many ways to do that, and that's about raising awareness and different ways to raise awareness. And I think the motivation in terms of raising awareness is when people get the dollars in their pocket and it keeps coming and they get hooked onto kind of being productive. I think that then solidifies a different culture.
Remember, the number to call is 410-3030, and we take calls. And if you have comments, we will also use it. We're speaking about how do we wake up St. Andrews? And one of the ideas that was on the table was for economic development zone. And we speak about funding for that. And we talk about the CBI program and equity funding. And now we're saying Grenadians have money. Why we say that? Because of the quality of our vehicles, perhaps is more comparable. Is better off than perhaps most Caribbean countries.
And to use your term, Mr. Pierre, some Grenadians have money.
You always find the majority poor, but we have enough that have money. Every country we have poverty.
So,
although some people now don't believe that. They're saying so-called poverty.
Okay, relative poverty. So we have those ideas for funding. Now, one of the things that we talk about is social responsibility in terms of corporate responsibility, social responsibility from the businesses. Now, there's no reason why the major banks and credit union cannot create a fund, say 5% of their profit every year, in terms of using that fund as a stimulus and lending it out at 1% interest, in St. Andrews, if you're doing a project in St. Andrews. There's no reason why that cannot be.
You really believe they're going to do that?
I think if there is enough political will, there is enough social will, I think it can be done. And
every time I hear people talk about businesses and social responsibility, it bothers me. You look as if you're begging these individuals to change your objective. Their objective is to make money.
You make more money by giving a little.
They don't feel that. They don't do that. Take, for instance, 60% of the new businesses that start, first-time business, crash. Within 5 years.
All over the world.
Well, I'm not using Grenada statistics. I want them to get
60% is all over the world.
Right.
And it goes up as high as 80% in some countries.
So look at our businesses here. None of them seems to have a apprenticeship. So let's use some strange, unorthodox example. A man opening a rum shop in a community, and he go to the credit union for $40,000 to open a rum shop. And the credit union could say, we will lend you $42,000. But that $2,000, we want it to be an apprenticeship. So you identify successful rum shop in the community. Identify 2 or 3 of them that you prepare to be an apprentice with. Because they have been selling rum since Lanel Canel. And the day. So the institution don't do that. They give this young entrepreneur $40,000. You open a rum shop in the area. You're not speaking to none of the other rum shop. You bring a DJ the first day. and he get all the boys and they trust him out, and in 3 years he boss.
Yeah, yeah.
But the company, the credit union and the bank don't care
Yeah.
because they insure his money. They want him to bust.
Yeah. Well,
I told you the example was unorthodox and crude.
I'm not sure because I know the argument, which is like they win anyway because their loan is insured.
They could have salvaged that individual by adding $2,000 and say that have to be a venture capital. And you must work with successful people.
Yeah.
The people might tell you, boy, don't trust James and Harry. They are good talkers, but it doesn't pay.
Yeah.
Simple things.
Yeah. No, but I agree. But so one of the things, Mr. Pierre, is that a certain amount has to be part of the budget from government national budget.
I want to be realistic,
No.
I know company is studying us, government is studying us on that.
Yeah. Well, that may be.
You have a caller on the line? Let's take that call. Yes, caller, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Pierre. Wonderful program. My question is here, we're talking about, how do we get financing? But the question is, there's a stigma. And if we really look at the stigma, that agriculture is our main problem. We were not taught in Grenada to invest. We were taught that every time you make a $5, put away 3 and 2, but not to invest. One of the things they look at, and I always remember the previous government with the bushing. When I used to look at the kind of people the bushing before, the nice hairstyle, and they start to develop. The problem is here, we continue to see a farmer with a water boots and a cutlass in his hand. If you look at the banks, I do farming and I deposit my money in the banks. But if you go to ask the bank for a loan, they're not giving you a loan. But they're taking the same money you deposit in and giving a man to buy a car, giving a man to travel, giving a man to do certain things. The question is, we have to find out what is causing the population to look down on a farmer. Farming is something we have to eat every living day. We have to eat, and yet it seems to be one of the poorest thing out. And farming has to move to the next level. You go to the market and you see somebody selling produce on a broken table. This kind of idea must come out of our mind. The idea is that we have to be able to lift the minds of people and we let them understand that what we're doing is valuable. We are keeping almost 40% of our community going because of farmers, and we are not seeing that. So every time we go for a loan, and we go look at our GDP bank today, what is happening? We are going for loans and look at the kind of people are getting loans. It means that the white collar, we have to understand the deal with the white people, the white collar, to let them understand. If we don't farm, they would not live, they would not survive. And we have to find some means. I don't know if it's getting together at least 3 or 4 farmers really come. I remember going to a meeting once for myself, and the person I spoke to say, boy, you have good ideas, but you alone would not stand. You have to get at least 10 or 12 people to come and make some great impact, and then we're going to listen to you. So the question is, we must get our farmers together to realize that we are making an impact individually and collectively. If we come together and put our ideas together, we can go a far place. Because all part of the world we see, look at it. Look at how Josh makes some good points about the hotels. Look what the hotels is doing us. And we can produce. We have the quality stuff. We have everything to produce. When you reach here, they tell you today, look, 50 pounds, reach back. They can't take 50, they want 25. But when they import their 50 pounds, they put it on their freezers and keep it there for an export. So I think is that one of the main problems we're facing is to get rid of this stigma because our children don't want to do farming. I remember Mr. Campbell. Sir Campbell and his wife did farming, and his children, although 12 children, doctors, lawyers, bankers, all of them came out from farming, never take a loan to send them and study, paid for them to go and study. And today they are prevalent men in society. We have to be able to look to say at the end of the day, let's get rid of this stigma. We must deal with the stigma that a farmer is just as a banker. A farmer is just as a doctor. A farmer is just as a lawyer. We have to come up to this point to lift our farmers to where they are, to lift their minds from this poverty level, to let them know that we are more valuable than even a lawyer because we are producing the food for them to eat and to drink. And this is what happening to our country today. We are looking at lawyers to run our country, and look where we are today. Are you sure if you take a farmer and put as a prime minister today, we do better in our country because you feed our people and we better off? Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, caller. And that caller is rising. How do we redirect, educate, culture our people to understand that they have the power And then we're searching to see, while we're looking for financing, do we have money? Yes, the CBI program. Yes, equity funding. Yes, lobbying and pressuring financial institution and corporate citizens to have a social conscience, a social responsibility.
Yeah.
But we ourselves must fix with culture.
Mm-hmm. I think the caller made a lot of sensible point, and I agree with the caller and the points he makes about. And I forgot that point. I hadn't mentioned it. The linkage between agriculture and tourism is essentially, one of the ways to fund this project, because one of the things that we have is a ready market. And one of the things I've been working on recently is trying to get the data from the hotels and the farmers in terms of linking agriculture to tourism. And I could tell you my tentative kind of finding is that certainly the hotel that I've been trying to do the experiment with does not really want to fully engage the farmers in terms of contract.
It's not in their interest.
It's not in their interest, because we have tied our hands behind our back. We have made it 40% cheaper for them to import goods than to buy locally. And unless our leaders, our politicians, identified this problem and solve it, we're going to be in this position. I see a lovely picture recently in terms of NDC manifesto linking agriculture to tourism and health. And it's beautiful, but there's no infrastructure how to make it a reality. And that's what we're continually missing. It's okay to have the buzzwords, linking agriculture to tourism and health. And as an ideal, a goal, it's good, but we have to have the ladder. How do we get up to the link? And at the moment, all of this thing about linking agriculture to tourism, based on what I'm finding as I do my research, is that the hotels do not want to engage in terms of farmers in a way that's reliable, dependable, and can make the farmers a living. They want the farmers to support the hotels by, when the hotels need goods, they call the farmer. Now, it takes 3 months to grow a sweet potato. If you call me today for tomorrow, I can't get you a sweet potato.
But let's face it, the hotels are seeking their interest. They recognize that because of economy of scale, it is always easier for them to bring goods from outside 40% cheaper.
Yeah,
so they are not going to create the infrastructure, the environment.
We as a government has made it 40% cheaper for them.
So that is why the lobbying have to come from us.
Yeah. So let me tell you about short-sightedness. And I hope you get the point.
Short-sightedness by who?
Yeah, I hope you get the point. So the slave owners, it took over 400 years to get rid of that. And I would say they were short-sighted to develop that system. We had the colonial system. It took another 40 or 50 years to get rid of that. But we got rid of it. And now we have the foreign direct investment that has been going on for about 60 years. But unless the foreign direct investment has some equity in it for all the parties, that system would fall again. You cannot have a system, and this is where it hurts me in my guts, Mr. Pierre. These hotels, they get the CBI money to build the hotel. They get 100% concession in terms of their vehicles, in terms of the material to build these hotels. And then government says, well, let's link tourism to agriculture so the farming community can be involved in this whole holistic project. And then they say to us, well, we'll take something from you, but if and when we need it, and essentially we can get all the goods for 40% cheaper by bringing it in.
Okay. I know.
I'm speechless.
You see, as a farmer, this is hard and this is tough, but that's not going to go away because
government change, Mr. Pierre.
Let us face it. I want to be as realistic as possible in that discussion.
Yeah, because
if that discussion don't take place on the ground, it would not change.
Yeah.
This discussion have to take place among the farmers.
Yeah.
It has to take place in the rum shop.
Yeah.
It has to take place there.
Yeah. And if that was happening in France,
we're not in France.
Hotels will not be able, to open.
We're not in France. We're in Grenada.
But what happens in the world affects Grenada.
Yes,
so don't believe that these are isolated countries. France wasn't always like that. France influenced Britain in terms of things. We had the trade unionist, Chester Humphreys. Chester go and lie down in front of the truck in terms of the brewery. So we have individuals who say enough is enough. There might not be many of us, but there are many Chester Humphreys out there who's prepared to stand in front of the farmers and say, you cannot keep treating my people like that.
One of the challenges that I believe we have is the culture that we believe we are helpless.
Yeah.
And I think that is why I constantly ask this question. How do we redirect? How do we educate? How do we culture our people? Anytime you speak about financing, the farmers throw their hands in the air. But the farmer have 9 vehicles. And the farmers have a coffin waiting big like Hilton Hotel.
Mr. Pierre, most of them have a cutlass and a fork.
And then the farmer send his child to school. And the child living as if the child rich.
Let's not give them ammunition. They have enough.
How do we culture our people to redirect the investments in economic generating entities? So at what age your child must have a second source of income? At what we live in an agricultural country. You have land, maybe half an acre land. But your house only on a quarter. Now you have 2 flowers tree, you don't even know the name of the flowers in it. How do you get your child to use the rest of the land you have to put a $500 investment?
Yeah, and that is a hard one because I saw
this one is one that we have to face.
Yeah, but I saw a culture that happened when I lived in London. And I saw the Asians coming in from India and Pakistan, and they all kind of gravitated towards business, corner shops, because that's all they would let them into. And before the child was 7 or 8, they were cashing and counting and taking.
They're doing maths.
Yeah,
they're doing.
They're doing maths. And what then happened within 2 generations? They all went to become IT experts or doctors or lawyers. And one of them is the Prime Minister of Britain now.
Yeah, next lunatic. So look at us in Grenada here.
Yeah.
Are our children involved in businesses?
Not really.
No. So in the next 20, 30 years, you would hardly find a Grenadian that own a business in Grenville.
Oh, God.
This thing will be in the hands of how do we culture our children?
Yeah,
we are educating our children into poverty.
Yeah, that's
our
frightening.
Children, people have wealth, they have land, they have businesses.
Yeah.
They send their children to learn initiative. And these children come back and they are not associated with any form of the business. So if we're going to talk about the economic zone, we are looking.
And there's so many different diverse.
We're looking for funding from CBI program. CBI program is fragile. Only the government of Grenada that does not know that CBI program is fragile. If the war between Ukraine and Russia escalate or things CBI done.
Yeah, it can't escalate more than it escalates.
Yes, it could come to a world war. or nuclear war could play
a world where we all finish.
Right. We talk about equity from the diaspora. That perhaps might be more reliable than even the CBI. We talk about...
The CBI money is there. It's already here.
We talk about social responsibility.
Yeah.
From companies and etc. That is something you have to lobby for forcefully.
You could make it an incentive with the tax system.
Did we educate our leaders to lobby for that? By the time all leaders want to go and wine in gala, dress up nice, drink Hennessy, cognac and wine.
Oh Lord.
That is the quality we have. And our people deserve the leaders they have. The leaders you have is a true reflection of you. Yeah. Our leaders want to go and gallivant in gala.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. The people get the leaders they deserve.
Now we're speaking about how do we redirect, how do we educate, how do we culture. So an individual that have 100 acres of land and 5 children, and the children have tertiary education, none of them is assisting the parent in that 100 acres of land, except they want him sell the land. Yeah. An individual run a business for 50 years, he and his wife. His wife never go on holiday. She makes some children for she man. She have the children. The children get educated. And now the parents are incapacitated. They're in a home, the children run the business. And the children wearing gold chain and driving nice car. Better she didn't make a pig. No, so she sell the pig, a barbecue it and get some meat.
Yeah.
When these people sit down in their home and they study all these years with toil, and now the children run the business. The parents must be saying, if I make a pig, I eat piece of pork and get rid of this thing.
Yeah. Mr. Pierre, we can do it. This is not a place where
how do we do it? Everybody telling me we can do it.
Yeah, we can do it, but we must start.
Are we going to look at the education system?
Yeah, all of it is interconnected.
I don't know what interconnected means. Yeah. That is a big word for intellectuals.
No, it means connected. Everything is connected.
When your children go to school and they tell you they do POB and commerce and economics, but your children not involved in your business. A child coming to school with a bachelor's degree, with POB or economics or what, and the child going to look for work, and the parents work turning over $1 million a year.
Well, maybe one of the things is, St. Andrew's Business Association that includes teaching and learning and mentoring in that. We can create what we need.
Then perhaps you have to look at the education system.
Yes,
you cannot have all these children coming to school and the parents have land. The parents have vehicles.
Yes,
the parents kind of well off.
Yeah.
But these children are not, their education did not help the parents' business to expand.
How do we incentivize them to remain in agriculture and expand their
the education? Businesses? They're badly educated.
Yeah, so that has to be looked at. But an economic development zone for all of us will involve a lot of different angles. This thing about pigeonholing finance or pigeonholing kind of leadership or pigeonholing crop. These things, what I'm trying to say when I say interconnected, they're all connected.
It's a big word. I don't understand it. This is words men use to get a thesis.
Yeah.
Interconnected relationship and all kind of things. Big words.
Intercontinental was an airline.
That's big words. But these words, how do we do that? What do you do? Every time I look at children coming from secondary school and I engage them, particularly those girls, I like to talk to them. I go and talk to them.
Yeah.
They tell me they do degree in management and psychology and business and economics and etc. But they're looking for a job.
Yeah.
And some of the parents they're going and work for $60 and $75 a day. And some of the parents paying more than $75 for somebody to they run their house doing things. Does that make sense?
No, no, but many countries have challenges and obstacles, but they still are able to move forward.
What we have is cancer. They have cancer.
Yeah, so we're gonna
unacceptable.
We're gonna cut the cancer off.
With shock therapy.
Yeah.
The education system must do better.
Yeah.
And we have to point out, if you're teaching a child economics, then there must be some visiting lectures. So you get businessmen, and the businessmen that come off my head, Kenny Lalsin, the Syrians, the Indians that are successful, to do part-time lectures in the school.
Now we have to teach those
because the teachers, what they know is theory and book. They don't have no practical experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. Nobody's gonna disagree.
You see some children come out to school, they vex. They're angry. Mm-hmm. What they vex for, God knows. Mm-hmm. What they're angry for, God knows. Mm-hmm. And they come in a job with a businessman, and if you stay quietly and listen to them behind your back, they say you're mean, you're wicked, you're evil, and you're not helping nobody.
Yeah,
and they come to work with you.
Yeah. So
Joshua, we're running out of time.
Yes. I wanted to get through the economic zone.
We identify that St. Andrews need an economic development zone.
Yes. Because he has a seaport around it.
And we also look at funding. CBI money, they have money. The government don't know what to do with this money. And if you give people who don't know what to do with the money, more often than not, it's stupidness they do with it.
But I heard they said they had about 40 agents, and most of those agents are millionaires now.
Every agent likely to make 30 million per year just for agency fee. The second source of income, we talk about equity. Because we have a lot of individuals in the diaspora that want to help, but they don't know how to help. Then we talk about social responsibility. We want to lobby the corporate citizen and the financial institution to have a conscience.
To put a fund together, and we can counteract it with tax incentives for them, so they don't lose nothing.
Right, and then we're talking about redirecting funding, because let's face it, there are some people in Grenada that have vehicles that they don't need. They're talking about the environment, but they have 3 cars. They want to put a gold chain around the neck. Somebody might just cut out the head for the chain.
Yeah.
So they have expensive cell phone, and they don't have additional source of income.
Yeah.
So we're trying to encourage people, discuss the issue. At what age your child should start to invest in business?
Yeah.
That's where we're talking about redirecting the culture.
Yeah, and that is agreeable.
You don't have time. Wrap up.
Well, as Mr. Pierre always says, we don't have all the answers, but we want to stimulate discussion. And, the ideas that we are bringing, it's not the panacea to solve everything. The answer to solve everything is within all of us. And when we come together and bring our ideas together, without our ego, we can solve our problem. The St. Andrews has to wake up.
Yes, and we on Studio Galaxy. We do hope that you have found anything that we have said worthy of discussing, because we're really provoking discussion. We want you to share our program, and we thank the caller. We had 1 caller, but we highly appreciate your contribution.
Yes, we do.
Yes, so thank you very much.